Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, and today I want to talk about misconceptions about writing creative nonfiction. I've heard some of these from people who want to try writing creative nonfiction but don't know where to start or have their reservations, and I've heard the others from people who don't really think creative nonfiction is a respectable genre of literature or a genre worth pursuing. If any of these things apply to you, hopefully at the end of this video, you'll have a different perspective of creative nonfiction. Before I go any further, let me just say that I know some of you might not like the term creative nonfiction and prefer the term essay or nonfiction. But based on my experience, when I say essay or nonfiction, people usually think of the things they had to do for school, like research papers, analytical essays, persuasive essays, which are often considered to be formal or boring. On the other hand, when people hear creative nonfiction, they start to think of real stories that are written more artfully, like personal essays or lyric essays. With that said, I'll be using the term creative nonfiction in this video, so we're all on the same page. Alright, the first misconception is that you need to have an exciting or dramatic life in order to write compelling creative nonfiction. This is false. Although having an exciting or dramatic life can help in terms of having more stories to tell, creative nonfiction isn't just about saying what happened to you and what you've done. Creative nonfiction is more about sharing your worldview, making sense of your experiences, and figuring out how certain things have shaped you. As cheesy as it sounds, the heart of creative nonfiction is human complexity and authenticity. So you can't just list down what you're going through because that's not everything. There's this saying that goes, it's not experience that makes our lives, it's what we do with it. And the same principle applies in creative nonfiction. To give you a few examples, Virginia Woolf has an essay about watching a moth die. That sounds really random and mundane. The piece is called The Death of a Moth, and it also has her musings on death. Walter Benjamin's essay Unpacking My Library is about filling up his new bookshelf with crates and crates of his old books, but it's also about all the memories and thoughts that come back to him because they are attached to or tied to his books. Now, you might think that Virginia Woolf or Walter Benjamin were able to pull off creative nonfiction because they're such profound thinkers. Well, they are profound thinkers, but you don't have to pressure yourself to say anything about life or the world. It's enough to assert something about yourself or your life. In my case, I wrote to propose how some things, like the architecture of my family's home, are connected with my issues related to my body, my culture, and feeling trapped. Just to be clear, I didn't always know how my issues were shaping me until I began writing. Before writing, I sensed some connections, but it was all muddled in my mind. So in a way, the writing process was explorative or investigative, and that's arguably the strength of creative nonfiction. No other genre seems to fully embrace 100% of the time this level of vulnerability, confusion, and curiosity. Some writers would say that these are the keys to good creative nonfiction. The second misconception is that you are narcissistic if you write creative nonfiction. I dislike this personal attack or judgment because it draws people's focus away from the piece. Your choice of genre doesn't define you or say anything about you as a person. Are some essays self-indulgent? Sure, I'm sure you can find one, but many essays out there aren't. There are loads of factors that go into choosing the genre you write. Maybe you like prose. Maybe you need an outlet to process your traumas, and maybe creative nonfiction does that for you. Maybe you like writing about the everyday or the mundane. Maybe you're naturally introspective, which draws you to creative nonfiction. Let's not kid ourselves, narcissistic people are everywhere. And even if you consider yourself narcissistic, it doesn't mean your essays will be cringe. If you know the craft, the chances of you sounding narcissistic in a piece is low. The third misconception is that you need to write all the correct details in your piece. It's good to be accurate, but like with any other piece of writing, you're free to remove some details if you find them irrelevant. Could removing details make some people look bad? Yes, definitely. But what matters is that you tell your story as honestly as you can, such that the details you choose to remove just add noise to your piece. But if there are contradictory things like observations, thoughts, or feelings, you are encouraged to write them into your creative nonfiction piece because life is not without its contradictions. There might be something insightful there that could add more depth and nuance to your piece, and it could even open up a new perspective for you as a person and as a writer. What's debatable in creative nonfiction is if you can embellish. Let's say you want to write about how your mom did your hair every morning when you were a kid. Can you exaggerate how your mom fixed your hair? If you want to make it more impactful, some writers will say yes, it's okay to embellish. For me, with personal essays, I don't embellish. My own ethics plays a part in that, but I think it mostly has to do with how I latch onto details or images, and I tend to analyze them for what they are, so I don't really have a lot of room to embellish. I think ethics in creative nonfiction is a tricky thing, especially when you go into the specifics. There will be loads of disagreements on what you can and can't do. But let me say for sure, don't make up experiences. If you are caught fabricating, it'll be harder for people to believe anything you say. The fourth misconception is that creative nonfiction writers don't know how to write in any other genre. This is not true. I know creative nonfiction writers who write short stories, and I know others who write poetry. I've had a few poems published too, and I consider myself a creative nonfictionist or an essayist and not a poet. As I said earlier, your choice of genre is up to you. It's based on what you're interested in, what stories you want to tell, and what you want to write. When it comes to writing, the literary genres are difficult in their own ways, and they are easy in their own ways. It all depends on what you're more exposed to and what you're used to writing. Writing creative nonfiction doesn't mean you don't have the skills to write in other genres, or that you're any less of a writer. Creative nonfiction is just another genre of literature with its own conventions or rules. It's just a matter of learning them the same way people learn how to write short stories or poems. You can follow the genre's rules strictly, or you can push the boundaries through playful experimentation. Also, even if people think that fiction is the superior genre and creative nonfiction is in the bottom of the pile, there's no denying that there are overlaps with the different literary genres. You still need to know how to construct a tight sentence. You still need to use the best words in the best order. You still need to be aware of what you're saying and what you are implying. And you still need to be specific. The fifth and last misconception I'll tackle in this video is that no one cares about your point of view or your life, so why bother writing about it? I've heard this a lot even for things that aren't related to creative nonfiction. As long as it's personal, there are people who will question its significance. I mean, when Facebook and Twitter started becoming a thing, so many people have said things like, no one cares about your life, or what you ate, or what someone said to you. And I think that's why I hear some writers ask, what do I matter? I'm no one. I have nothing new to offer. Well, I have news for you. Creative nonfiction celebrates the ordinary, the real. Yes, you may be a student or a parent, employed or unemployed, living your ordinary, average life, but creative nonfiction is interested in the human experience. Readers around the world may not know who you are, but they can still empathize with you, and they can still resonate with your story. Maybe someone out there even needs your story. For so long, many of us have been told to keep things to ourselves. But that's not always a good thing. We see now how we're better off being more open about our mental health, our traumas, our gender and sexuality, and so much more. We need to be able to talk things out, and we need to hear other people's stories, since that keeps us sane and feel less alienated. And creative nonfiction gives all of us that platform or avenue. On another note, the way you tell your story is also something worth talking about. I think a lot of people are focused on extracting the theme or the moral of a story, that one sentence summary. But why write anything at all if you can just say something in one sentence? So this brings it back to what I was saying, that how we experience the story enables us to resonate with it. So it's a good practice to pay attention to form or structure, and also the tone, because these things show how the author has processed their experience. Lastly, you don't have to please others when you write creative nonfiction. You might have an important message to say, or you might want to get published, and those are good goals to have. It's just important to also remember that when you write creative nonfiction, you're doing it for yourself too. It can help you heal from painful memories. It can empower you, give you the voice that you might not have had before. And for some people, that's more than enough. So that's it for today. I hope you found this video helpful. And if you've been wanting to try creative nonfiction, I hope this video gives you that push to finally try it out. If you have any questions, you can send them over to my Tumblr. Thank you for watching.